The Bard class in Terraria comprises of using a host of musical instruments to dish out some big damage while enhancing their abilities. Bards have a lot of potential, but what if we did something crazy and break the class completely? How's it going, crew? This is Happy Days, and today we're going to see how overpowered you can make the Bard class in Terraria. We've done a few of these OP videos now, so I'll display all the usual rules on screen. Basically, we'll be farming, looting, and crafting the absolute best Bard equipment available at several major stages of the game. With that said, let's get this crazy challenge started. We begin our adventure with a fresh new forest to destroy to collect tons of wood. Similar to the melee and ranger classes, bards can craft a starter weapon from wood called the wooden whistle. As always, we'll craft multiple weapons until we get the best bard modifier, which is called fabled, for a nice boost to our stats. Now we have a bard weapon. The guide gives us our first inspiration fragment. Instead of mana, bards use a resource called inspiration, and these fragments can be used to permanently increase it. Before making some NPC houses, I craft some wooden armor and equip the family heirloom accessory. The family heirloom is given to new characters in Thorium and gives 1 defense, which is a nice little boost as we're just starting out. After slaughtering some more slimes for torches, I head underground to start looting. As always, some of the main things I'm looking for are life crystals, bombs, gems, and also plenty of ore. If you're wondering, I'm playing on a small world in normal mode. A lot of early bard weapons, armor, and accessories is crafted with a material called cloth. Cloth is made by simply converting cobwebs at a loom, so I'll need to be on the lookout for plenty of it early on. Back at base, it's time for some upgrades. I buy some piggy banks from the merchant before converting all our cobwebs into cloth. We craft our first set of bard armor called the Crier's armor for a boost to our inspiration regeneration. I also craft the drum mallet, gold bugle horn, and harmonica for a nice collection of new weapons. We also make a gold pickaxe before heading back underground. With our new bard equipment, my next goal is to get some inspiration fragments to increase our max inspiration, and to do that we need some thorium ore. In the thorium mod, inspiration is similar to mana, and the more we have, the longer we can fire our bard weapons. To craft inspiration fragments, I'll also need fallen stars, so I make a small sky bridge to easily collect a few stars each night. A few bard items also require materials from floating islands, so I use some sticky bombs to quickly collect everything in sight. Back at base, I craft a thorium anvil and convert my thorium ore into bars. I craft some arcane dust to make inspiration fragments, but we need to find a demon altar to craft them at. I also craft a few new bard weapons, including the grand piano, the tambourine, the skyware lute, and the alphorn. We can also grab a few new accessories too, with the Fabergé egg and the opal ring giving us another boost to our bard's power. I also grab some marching boots from the cobbler before heading back out for more power-ups. We make a quick stop by the corruption to craft some inspiration notes at a demon altar. As we progress through the game, I'll be able to craft even more items to increase our inspiration further. While collecting more life crystals, our next stop is the underground tundra to collect icy shards. These drop from any enemy in the snow biome and can be used to craft the icy piccolo. Next, we head down to the lava-filled depths of the cavern in search of more obsidian. Obsidian can be used to craft another bard weapon called the obsidian racket. I also search for a scarlet chest. These can contain the mixtape accessory that gives bard weapons a singe debuff for some extra damage. Back at base, I craft the icy piccolo and obsidian racket, as well as the pado paper accessory for a small inspiration regeneration boost. That night, a blood moon spawns, which is perfect as I can unlock the confused zombie NPC, which has a bard weapon if I defeat the patchwork enemy. I also grind out the mobs to get a shark tooth necklace to give our weapons +5 armor penetration for a nice damage boost. I keep farming the next night using a bloody tear to get another shark tooth necklace. This will allow me to craft a stinger necklace later for even more armor penetration. There's a few more weapons I want to grab now. We're a bit stronger, so we start by heading to the underground desert to mine up desert fossils. These can be used to craft the sitar, which is a stronger version of our skyware loot. Next, I stop by the ocean to grab some coral and seashells and farm squids for black ink. I can use the black ink to craft the music notes accessory, which boosts how long our bard empowerments last for. I swing back past the corruption to smash some shadow orbs. This will allow the goblin army to spawn naturally, and I can get the fan letter accessory for a small inspiration boost. The next morning, the goblins spawn, and I quickly get to work blasting them away with our array of musical instruments. Soon enough, I send the goblins running, and it's time for some more upgrades. After processing our desert fossils, I craft a sitar and the seashell castanets before buying some more bombs, as it's time to make a elevator. While building our elevator, I rescue the stylus from a spider nest, and then shortly after, we rescue the goblin as well. I buy a pair of rocket boots and a tinkerer's workshop, as we'll be needing both of them soon enough. We've almost done everything a bard can do before their first boss, but there's still a few more power-ups we can get our hands on. I head to the aquatic depths biome to collect tons of brackish clump blocks, and then we use them on the extractinator as they can drop the aquaite ore. I also find the steel drum weapon in the depth chest for a nice power boost. Back at base, we've been visited by the traveling merchant. After buying some dynasty wood from him, I run our brackish clumps through the extractinator. After a second run through the aquatic depths, I finally get enough aquaite ore to make enough bars for the hydro pickaxe and the scuba curver. I then combine several of our accessories into the band kit for a nice overall boost to our power. After discovering I can place my inspiration meter up near my HP and mana bars, I give our new Hydro Pickaxe a spin as I mine up a bunch of Hellstone ore in the underworld. There's a ton of things I can craft with Hellstone bars, so I'll make sure to grab plenty in case I need more of them later. Before heading back to base, I search for some Demonite ore for an upgrade to our tambourine. Prior to defeating a boss, you can find small amounts of Demonite ore underground, but it is quite rare. Back at base, I place our Hellforge and convert our Hellstone ore into bars. I then craft the bongos, hot horn, music notes, and noble armor, as well as an upgrade to an Ebenwood tambourine. We can also craft the lava-proof bugnet, as we've still got some upgrades to get. The Terra Spark boots are generally the best pre-boss boots for every class, and the Bard is no exception. All the accessories for them can either be crafted, looted, or purchased, and the process is identical for all classes, and all classes use them, so I won't be repeating this information every video moving forward. We also do our usual fishing trip around the world to pick up the following fish for buff potions. I also farm some Eater of Souls as they can drop burgers, which give the exquisitely stuffed buff, which is the strongest food buff available. After checking my money, I realize I haven't got enough for all the reforging I'm about to do, so you know that means I'm taking another hot bath for more Hellstone. Back at base, I craft the pan flute using the resources from my jungle run earlier, and then I combine all the accessories I've collected to craft the Terra Spark boots. I then sell all my Hellstone bars to the goblin before beginning the expensive process of maxing out our modifiers and hoping he doesn't break them all. And because I almost totally forgot, we swing past the shimmer to make a vital crystal and inspiration gem, which permanently increases our inspiration regeneration. With the first stage complete, let's see what power-ups we achieved for our bard without fighting a single boss. We have the pan flute, hot horn, bongos, sitar, scuba curva, and many more weapons, all with the fabled modifier. We also crafted the noble's armor and got the band kit, mixtape, and music notes accessories, which boost our symphonic damage as well as extend our buff durations. For honorable mentions, I need to take a moment to quickly explain how bard empowerments work. Bard weapons fall under 5 categories, which include brass, percussion, string, wind, and electronic, with each type giving the player a different buff when played. In my opinion, it's the best strategy to quickly cycle through one weapon from each category during boss fights and then swap to your main weapon to deal damage, and then repeat as the empowerments wear off. It's time to start stage 2, and that means we can access everything up to the Wall of Flesh battle. I kick things off by taking on the Eye of Cthulhu. Defeating the Eye of Cthulhu unlocks the blacksmith NPC who sells the arcane armor fabricator. We easily destroy the poor boss, so I summon a few more to get some more loot to sell for cash. Back at base, I purchase the arcane armor fabricator before crafting the mouthpiece accessory. This accessory gives all our wind instruments a fairly powerful homing ability, turning my pan flute into a heat-seeking missile. There are some huge upgrades available now, but they require Skeletron to be defeated, so that night, that's exactly what we're going to do. I rotate through all our instruments and then unleash our homing pan flute on Skeletron's hands, and soon enough, the spinning skull falls to our onslaught as we make our way into the dungeon below. We rescue the mechanic and purchase the microphone, our first electronic instrument for her. Electronic instruments have the ability to extend all of our empowerments, so it's definitely worth including them in our buff cycle against bosses. We also collect bones and spikes as they combine to create dark steel ingots, which are used to craft a variety of bard items. It's time for more upgrades, so I swing past a demon altar and upgrade to the Song of Fire and Ice, and then plonk them down on an anvil and craft the Bone Trumpet and Calaveras. There's another bard buff potion we can make, but the NPC that sells one of the components requires us to defeat the Grand Thunderbird to unlock them. It's a fairly easy battle, so I farm an extra one for more loot to sell before moving on. I then head to the Granite biome, as now Skeletron is defeated, I can collect granite energy cores from the enemies there. We also swing past the Marble biome, as the enemies there are now dropping bronze alloy fragments, which we also need to get our hands on. Using our shadow key, I raid the underworld to pick up our next bard weapon, the Nocturne, as well as some extra loot for reforging. Back at base, I craft the granite boombox to replace our microphone, and I also make the bronze tuning fork. We visit the Alkalite NPC and purchase some cactus fruit, which allows me to craft creativity potions so enemies drop more inspiration notes. I then reforge our new equipment to the best modifiers, as this stage is almost complete. But first, I sneak in a cheeky queen bee, as I almost forgot to upgrade my sharp tooth necklace to a stinger necklace for some extra damage and regen. We smashed our way through stage 2, and we got some massive upgrades with the Song of Fire and Ice, Nocturne, and Bone Trumpet. Of special note are the tuning fork, which allows us to deal 10% more damage to enemies, and granite boombox, which gives us a damaging aura, and both these weapons will be useful throughout the rest of this challenge. I craft it later in this video, but you can make the music note statue in this stage, and it is a game changer for boss arenas by providing extra inspiration regen, increasing your weapon uptime and DPS. Stage 3 is here, and the stage is set for hard mode as we begin this act by hurling the voodoo doll into the lava. After doing our regular bard cycle of buffs, I find our Nocturne works quite well against the Hungries, with our pan flute doing great damage against the wall itself. It doesn't take long before the wall falls and we snag a Bard emblem for our troubles as hard mode begins. With hard mode beginning, there's a lot of upgrade options available to us. We need a wide range of resources, so we're going to kick things off by fishing in the Hallow. I can even grab a light shard from the mummies, as we'll be soon making a new Bard weapon with it. Back at base, I open all my crates and then craft a hard mode anvil and make the Orichalcum slide whistle, Mithril melodica, violin, and titanium pickaxe for some nice upgrades. I head to the underground corruption to get Souls of Night and find the wizard instantly. I buy a bell as there's a nice weapon I can make with it. Next, I head to the surface corruption and farm an enemy called the Starved. It drops a material called Green Dragon Scales, which makes a ton of upgrades, including a set of wings. Deep in the underground Hallow, we collect some Souls of Light as our first hard mode armor set is made with them. Now that we have both Souls Light and Night, we can upgrade our inspiration again. At a demon altar, I make 10 more inspiration fragments and then upgrade them to inspiration shards with all the souls we've collected. This increases my maximum inspiration to 30, which is much needed in hard mode. Next, in the underground desert, we're searching for ghouls. This hard mode enemy drops ancient cloth that is used to upgrade one of our accessories. The material grinding continues back in the underworld as we collect a few more souls of plight before heading to the skies. If we're gonna craft a set of wings, we'll need to farm a few wyverns for souls of flight. We even find a new enemy called the Lycan that drops a bard weapon for us called the Lullaby, which has a bouncy projectile that can cause mini stuns to enemies. Back at base, it's time for some upgrades. We start by making the marching band armor, Hell's Bell, and Dragon's Wail. Next, we craft a pair of dragon's wings and a dragon's talon necklace, which gives a whopping 15 points of armor penetration. At our Tinkerer's Workshop, we make Demo's Guidance, which gives us an equipable regeneration aura, and then craft the epic mouthpiece to upgrade our wind instruments further. There's still an upgrade I need to get, and it requires placing a few tombstones near the Dryad, so she'll sell me some crimson seeds. Underground, I make an artificial crimson biome, as I need to get my hands on some ichor, as well as make some other crimson materials I need to collect. We also need to swing past the corruption to craft a bloody spine at a demon altar before heading back to the crimson. Back at the crimson, we summon the Brain of Cthulhu and make short work of it. Our hard mode weapons and armor are too much for the brain, and we collect all the materials we need. And you know we're not leaving here without fishing up some crimson fish for buff potions while I have the opportunity. Back at base, I buy a conductor's stand off the merchant, which is a furniture item that buffs our bard abilities when used. I then craft some unfathomable flesh and make the flesh horn. The flesh horn shoots a blast of ichor that lowers enemy defense by a whopping 15 points. We can now also craft inspirational reach potions with crystal shards, and I then visit the goblin to upgrade all our new equipment and hope he gives me some good modifiers. Stage 3 had a lot of new upgrades available to us, and by utilizing fishing early, we were able to power up very quickly. Our new bard weapons are the Dragon's Wail, Violin, Hell's Bell, Orichalcum slide whistle, Lullaby, and Mithril melodica, with the flesh horn as our new bard support weapon. We have a full set of marching band armor, and for accessories we have an epic mouthpiece, full score, dragon's talon necklace, and a set of dragon's wings, all with the lucky modifier. Stage 4 is here, and it's time to destroy some bosses. As always in the OP series, Duke Fishron is available early and has a powerful bard weapon, so after a few failed attempts, I catch some truffle worms and prepare for battle. First thing though, we swing past base and make a heavy workbench. The thorium mod allows me to craft heart statues, and I think a few of these will help us take a few extra hits against the giant fishy beast. After setting up the statues and making a spawn point at the ocean, I use the conductor's stand buff and summon the evil fish. I've zoomed out for this battle, and my strategy is to rotate through all my utility weapons to get my empowerments online and then spam the Hell's Bells to lead Fishron through the projectiles. Our inspiration wheel is positioned back over my character as I need to pay attention to our inspiration and give it time to recharge in between volleys of attacks. It's a really long battle, but finally we take the tanky fish down and get the tsunami, so it looks like Fishron is going to make me work for it. Later that night we win again, but get the bubble gun. The third time is music to my ears, however, and after about half an hour of fighting, we finally get the Duke's Royal Carnix for our troubles. After upgrading our new prize, I try for the Fishron wings as well, and the fishy beast gives them to me on our next battle. After reforging our new equipment, it's time to dish out the pain to the mech bosses. The power of our new brass instrument is too much for the poor metallic menaces, and we take out all three in a single night. Before heading back to base for some upgrades, we take to the skies for another pre-hard mode boss, the Star Scouter. Defeating it unlocks an accessory we can buy from the mechanic, which we'll want to power up our weapons even more. Back at base, it's time for some upgrades. I buy the track player and subwoofer from the mechanic, and then craft a metal music player for some empowerment boosts. I then upgrade our titanium forge to a soul forge to unlock late game thorium crafting. I then make the cyberpunk armor, which we'll use the red mode set bonus for a nice damage increase. Next, I craft the steam flute, guilty pleasure, midnight bass booster, and portable winter guard garden. And I almost forgot to upgrade my pickaxe to the Titan Pack so I can mine up chlorophyte ore. Defeating Plantera is our next goal as it unlocks a ton of pre-golem upgrades, but first I want to max out our health. I spend some time crashing through the jungle, eating all the life fruit I can find, mining up the glittering green ore, and destroying any mobs that get in my way. I even make a mini life fruit farm by mining out a flat path through the jungle to speed up my collection of this HP boosting fruit. After maxing out my health, I return to base and craft a bunch of chlorophyte bars and make the green tambourine and turtle drums for a nice power boost. I also craft the true Arena Master's brazier, which gives an aura of all the useful arena buffs in a single item. We also swing past the shimmer and throw a life fruit in to make an Aegis fruit for a permanent 4-point boost to our defense. After setting up an arena, I smash a Plantera's bulb and begin the battle with the flowery beast. I fly circles around Plantera while Carnix makes short work of its first form, while our green tambourine is surprisingly useful at clearing up the tentacles in the second form. Soon enough, the giant plant falls and we even get a Vuvuzela, and if I've been mispronouncing instrument names in this video, I'm really sorry. Unfortunately, I don't get enough Bloomweave for our next armor set, so after hunting down a second bulb, I quickly take out another Plantera. Defeating Plantera has even spawned some Alumite chunks, so I'll mine some up as there's a powerful weapon we can craft with it. That night, we return to base and craft the Ornate armor, which can boost our empowerment levels while in combat. I then craft some Alumite bars from our Alumite chunks and make the Idol's microphone as well as the Maw for some nice upgrades before we head to the dungeon. We need several things from the dungeon, so after noticing enemies aren't spawning that quickly, I decide to make a mini farm. After setting up the farm, we need to collect a material called Dark Matter that can drop from the stronger enemies that spawn post Plantera. I also need to collect some ectoplasm as we'll be doing an event for a particularly strong weapon that I think will be extremely useful for the endgame mobs. Before we do some upgrading, I need to prepare an arena for the Pumpkin Moon. A good moon arena allows mobs to quickly walk to the middle of it and then get trapped in some sort of pit. With the arena complete, I craft a set of Maestro's armor and then make some Spectre bars, a naughty present, and a ghastly French horn. Later that night, I summon the Pumpkin Moon. Our target are the pumpkins, so I blast my way through the early waves with our powerful new weapons as quickly as possible. Our new armor has a set bonus that summons an orchestra of ghosts that rapidly attack enemies, which is useful to increase our damage even further. However, with a measly 10% drop chance, it takes a few nights, but finally the pumpkin drops our prize. Also, here's how you craft the music note statue I mentioned earlier in this video. It was extremely useful against the Pumpkin Moon to keep my inspiration topped up. Back at base, all that's left to do is reforge our new equipment as we enter the last stage of our challenge. This stage had tons of upgrades for us, including a set of Maestro armor and lots of weapons, including the Idol's microphone, Haunting bass drum, Duke's Royal Carnix, the Maw, and Vuvuzela. You may have noticed I'm sticking with my full score and metal music player accessories, and that's because they give an extra 5 seconds of empowerment extension, and with some of my empowerments are now giving 20% extra damage and critical strike chance. I want to keep them up as long as possible. The final stage is here, and now everything in the game is available to us to become a truly OP bard. I head straight for the temple to take out Golem. Defeating Golem unlocks a lot of upgrades for us as well as opens the way to the Moonlord, and for the first time in this series, a post-Moonlord boss. After setting up an arena in the Golem chamber, I summon everyone's favorite punching bag and get started. Although I can't place my own wire to set up my music note statue, I can use the existing wires, so I have plenty of inspiration to blast Golem's arms to pieces. Soon enough, Golem falls to our onslaught and I get a pixel for our efforts. I decide to farm a few extra Golems for cash before returning to the surface. I swing past base and craft a new wind instrument called the Punji and then grab a battle potion as we're about to take on Martian Madness and I need to go find a Martian probe. But first, we visit the Corruption to craft some inspiration crystals. These allow me to max out my inspiration and slightly boost our abilities even further. Back at our Fishron arena, I soon encounter a Martian probe and happily let it escape as I teleport back to base to begin fighting. There's 2 new bard weapons I can get from the Martian sources. With incredible luck, we get the first one on our first try called the Turntable. Although this powerful weapon can only attack ground enemies, it attacks everything on ground on screen, slows their move speed, and reduces their damage. A few sources later, we get the final weapon called the Triangle. This handy weapon leaves barriers in the air that can stun enemies and deal extra hits to larger enemies. After restocking my buff potions, I head to the dungeon and blast the cultists away with our turntable as we enter the endgame. The fast-moving cultists can dodge some of my slower attacks, so I just cycle through all my weapons to keep my empowerments online and then blast it with my Triangle and Carnix when it stays still. I deny it spawning any clones to help in the battle, and eventually the poor cultist is defeated as a Stardust Pillar spawns right on top of us. There's some incredibly powerful fragment weapons I want to make as soon as possible, so I decide to smash my way through 3 pillars before preparing for the Moonlord. Back at base, I convert our spare White Dwarf and Celestial fragments into Shooting Star fragments fragments and then craft the Shooting Star Guitar and Sound Sage's Lament for some huge upgrades. I then make some Terrarium cores using all our old bars and then upgrade our Terra Spark boots into Terrarium Particle Sprinters and the Terrarium Auto Harp. Next, I expand our main base arena higher into the air, complete with a spawn point and some arena buff furniture ready for our Moonlord battle. We zoom out for the Solar Pillar, ready for the Moonlord battle that will come straight after as I blast my way through the solar mobs with our new powerful weapon. With the pillar defeated, I quickly grab the fragments before teleporting back to our arena and refresh my buffs, ready for the big battle. The Moonlord spawns and I get my empowerments online while testing our new weapons against the Hand Eyes. The Forward Eye opens and I apply our Tuning Fork for a bonus 10% damage and then unleash our Sound Sage's Lament and it destroys the eye in a single cycle. It's glorious to see our Bard becoming truly OP as we destroy the remaining 2 eyes, and with the core open, the poor Moonlord doesn't stand a chance, and within a moment it starts exploding as the Moonlord is defeated. As the credit starts to roll, this is usually where our story ends, but our Bard still has one big boss to overcome, the mighty Primordials. A few nights later, after I've run the pillars a few more times, I completely disrespect the Moonlord by grappling still in my arena and completely destroying him to get the Sonic Amplifier weapon. The next day at base, I test the ability of our new amplifier that gives a ton of nice bonuses and then craft some more fragments and Luminite bars. We then make the Shooting Star armor, which increases our empowerments by a whopping 6 seconds, and the Turbo Tuber wings for some huge upgrades. All that's left is to craft the Doomsayer's coin and take on the Primordials. That night I use all my buffs and summon the final boss. The Primordials is actually 3 bosses in one, and they take turns fighting the player with unique attacks and abilities. Slag Fury uses a variety of homing flame attacks, Aqueous summons horizontal water waves that must be dodged, and Omnicide attempts to ram the player at high speeds. Still, they're not much of a match against our overpowered Bard, and soon enough the final Primordial falls in a brilliant explosion. The battle went well, and we weren't really in any danger, but if we're going to call our Bard truly OP, we need to obliterate this boss incredibly fast, so let's keep powering up. The next day we craft the Rhapsodus armor with the Inspirator's helmet. This set bonus gives us unlimited inspiration for 10 seconds and massively boosts our power once per minute. We also make the ultimate Bard weapons for each category called the Edge of Creation, Holophonor, Sousaphone, the Set, and the extremely powerful Black Midi. So what is the ultimate build for Bards in Terraria? After our long journey, let's take a look at our OP Bard. After all our preparation, we now have a full set of Rhapsodus armor and the fabled Edge of Creation, Holophonor, Sousaphone, Haunting Bass Drum, and Black Midi. Our final accessories are the Shooting Star Turbo Tuber, Metal Music Player, Full Score, Dragon's Talon Necklace, and Terrarium Particle Sprinters, all with the Lucky modifier. To give the Primordials a chance, I've bumped up the difficulty, which also unlocks the final phase of the boss fight. I start the battle by using my Endless Creativity armor ability, which gives me all the empowerment bonuses instantly. I then use my buffs and start blasting the Primordials with my Black Midi, as electric weapons prolong our empowerments, meaning I can just focus on dealing maximum damage. By staying near my music note statue, I can fire my Black Midi almost constantly, with our DPS sometimes going over 20,000 now, which is huge. With the Primordials down, the true boss spawns the Dream Eater. The Dream Eater has powered up abilities of all the Primordials and uses them constantly. As we're a glass cannon build, I will need to do some basic dodging in this second phase, or I'll be quickly overwhelmed by projectile damage. Still, the Dream Eater doesn't stand a chance against the power of our overpowered Bard, and soon enough, the boss starts exploding as we've given the Bard class the OP treatment. I had so much fun maxing out our Bard at each stage of the game. This was my first modded OP video, so if you enjoyed it and wanted to see more, let me know what other modded classes you'd like to see in the comments below. I had a blast making this video, and if you enjoyed it too, please smash the like button and consider subscribing for more fun videos like this. And here's the most important part as always, you'll stay happy and I'll see you soon. This is Happy Days signing out. See ya!